Hello everyone and welcome here to the very first episode of TownHall Breakaway, a very new podcast focused on a very new title made by Amazon Game Studios, Breakaway. My name is Jake and I'm joined here with my buddy Zoya. And Zoya, you know, I've just discovered this game. We're going to be talking about it all weekend long, or all night, not all weekend long. We're going to be playing it all weekend long. And you've been playing it a little bit longer. Really excited for this show, but let's open up a little bit with About Us, the introductions, since this is very well potentially a new audience, considering it's a new game.
Yeah, so hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to our first episode. Couldn't be more excited. Oh gosh, been waiting so long for this episode. I'm Zoya, for those that don't know me. I've been involved in esports since about 2009, started with StarCraft Brood War, started making YouTube videos about the time StarCraft 2 came out. Just to help coach my friends and stuff, and that's how I got into commentary and just like doing streaming and stuff. And that's what I consider myself. Out of everything I've done, is I consider myself a commentator and entertainer first. But I've worn almost every hat possible in esports at this point. I was a manager for Tempo Storm, Denial. Recently managed our own team called B-Step. I've been a content producer, a content director, a writer. I've helped run tournaments. I've worked the production and for many events. I've commentated for DreamHacks, ESLs. I've done a lot in esports, mainly in Blizzard games. Most recently, been a big focus for the last 2 to 3 years. Heroes of the Storm, and now I'm ready to have a second love of my life, which is going to be Breakaway.
It's funny because looking at the esports space over the last we've known each other for what, 5 years maybe. And we've looked at other titles like, okay, how do we expand our portfolio? We've looked at so many other games and considered getting involved, and we've never pulled the trigger. In this game, we pulled the trigger immediately. But I'll introduce myself. I've been in esports and just competitive gaming since 2006. I started playing Smash Brothers Melee. That moved into me being more of a TO, and before long, I was working for Major League Gaming, living in New York City, working full time. That's kind of where I met Zoya. I was working on the production side of things with Zoya at Major League Gaming events on StarCraft 2. Back in probably 2011 or 12 is where we actually met, I feel. That transition went from me wanting to go freelance, and then I started commentating. I got a little bit, I was already doing stuff on camera with MLG. And then I was like, well, Heroes of the Storm is a really cool new game. Moved into that, and that's been my life for 3 years. I've commentated grand finals at BlizzCon. I've worked the last 2 BlizzCons. Been to Europe a few times, and I looked at Overwatch, and I started with Overwatch a little bit, and then I decided I don't know if I like this esport personally, because shooters are fun, but they're a little bit different. And we've been looking for another game. We really have. And then I stopped looking. This is the best part of this whole story. I'm just going to become a variety streamer. I stopped looking. And Saturday last week, exactly 1 week ago, Zoya's tweets about Breakaway. And you've known about this game for a lot longer than I have. Yeah. I don't know how I missed that boat. I really don't. And I took one glance. I managed to get myself a key, and I just fell immediately in love. And that's the birth of this show. And a lot of new content here at Arcane8, which is our production company. But I think that covers the intros fairly well.
Yeah, we did miss one thing. Something that we're both absurdly proud of is this isn't our first podcast. It's actually Jake's third podcast.
Technically,
we are both the original host and creators of TownHall Heroes, which is kind of this brand that Jake has expanded into more things. Most podcasts have about a 10-episode lifespan in general, and I think we're up to 148 now. Yeah. Us being there primarily together for the first 100 episodes. Hitting 100 episodes in a podcast was an insane milestone that we're both absurdly proud of, and hopefully one day TownHall Breakaway will cross that barrier as well. We'll see.
Yeah, no, the podcasts are really fun, and they're truly the vodcast. If you are listening to the MP3, we always have a lot of nice visuals to talk about the show. And just to kind of set the tone for what this podcast will be, there's a lot of different styles of podcasts. We are very much esports people. We are very much, commentators and, in the esports space. That's where our drive is. So as this show progresses into the future, we're going to be doing a lot of meta discussions. We're going to be having players that are in the competitive space as guests. And of course, we'll be talking about the competitions that are happening, because there's already a show match this Monday happening on a warship between Echo Fox and Rogue. the ball is rolling, right? Or the relic is rolling, if you will.
Already getting the cheesy puns, and I love it. Yeah, man, it's a warship cast, man.
That's pretty crazy.
Oh, that's crazy. Amazon going hard right out the gates.
Yeah, no, they really are. So naturally, having the Heroes audience, which is where we've been working for a long time, and will continue to work, of course. Here with us today, we have to do a Breakaway 101, and I've only been playing the game for like a matter of days. Actually, considering the alpha went down and is coming back tonight, which is really exciting. My knowledge is largely based on tons of VOD review because I've been watching, the Thursday League that they have, the Office League, and all kinds of the content on their YouTube. But let's just start with the basics, Zoya. How would you describe Breakaway to someone brand new?
If you're just talking video games, if you have to use the space of video games, I would say it's a combination of Smite plus maybe Rocket League. It's a very chaotic, gore-sculling type game, similar to Rocket League, but it's it's got that Smite perspective, over the shoulder play style. It's very action-packed. You almost have to also throw in a third angle with it's almost like a fighting game. It's very brawly. It's very skirmishing. There's cool techs you can do. It's its own unique beast. You can't just compare it to something else. You have to compare it to many different things, and hopefully you don't have to compare it to anything because eventually everyone's going to know about Breakaway. So it's really unique. That's the best way I could describe it. If you want to use real sports, kind of like rugby, it's very you got to get the ball across the field, but there's constantly the ball's constantly going. There's no pauses, there's no downs and stuff. You just go until someone wins a round.
And then, of course, with that MOBA flavor in there, you have the various roles, right? You have the support heroes, you have the tank heroes, and you have the DPS, melee DPS, and then your ranged nukers as well. And it kind of sets up for, it's so many different ideas in a game, right? But they've made it feel so just natural, which is really impressive. And they've also brought in their own spin with the movement options that exist in the game, which we'll get a little bit more in depth with later, which is actually the #1 grab for me, is considering my background is fighting games into MOBAs, with a little bit of RTS in between, having the advanced techniques built into the movement options are super, super appealing. But let's actually just take a look at some of the different characters, and we can actually slow this down. We'll pause it on a few of these here. So again, you've got a melee fighter. That's Argus. He's a little bit more of what you would expect out of those melee assassins. Does have some nice stun combos and very bruisery. And then you've got Thorgrim, which is basically what you'd expect out of a big tank, a big bully in the front line. Actually haven't played a game as him yet, but I've played plenty against him, and he seems very good for the ball control. Again, we're not going to go super in depth. We're just kind of running through the list here. Kyra seems like the mega OP range nuke. If you ever are out of position and she can just unload on you, goodbye. You're going to feel terrible.
Kyra hurts, man.
Alona, the only healer in the game so far, by far my most played. Right in this game, I'm level 3. I think I got her to 5 in my couple of days where I was able to play. Super fun. So who's your favorite?
Oh, I'm Victor for life, man.
Victor for life. We're getting there.
I love mages, dude. He's very mage-like.
Yeah, he is. I did play a bit of Victor as well. Rollins, a little bit closer range. He's kind of like a mid-range DPS, but really, really fun. The jail that he has is super impactful. Then you've got Corrin, my next most played. I like supports. I mean, what can I say? Yeah,
Corrin's great. I think she's my second favorite. I love just utility-based heroes because those are the ones you can be the flashiest on. Make some sick plays for your team.
And already there's that distinction of being different from, since we come from heroes, we think of supports as healing, right? Supports are healing. And immediately I was like, oh, she doesn't have heals, right? Her support is all in the other ways. Damage amplification, she has slows, she has a silence, and she has control in the space, really. And she also hits pretty darn hard as well, so... really fun and refreshing. Another tank, the Black Knight, and then Victor, as you mentioned, just range nuker.
Yeah, and then Jara, last but not least, the true melee assassin of a game. And the thing I touched on it in the YouTube video I made, but like there are the classifications. You got the melee fighter, the melee tank, and you got the melee assassin, and they all are very clearly different roles. Jar is very like squishy, but has that assassin burst. Argus, he's the melee fighter. He's very bruisery. He gets in your face, and he's not as tanky as the tanks like Thorgrim and Black Knight, but he has also got some pretty crazy damage too. You have these classifications, and they all feel very different. They're not just like random names. You can actually feel how they differ from each other.
Absolutely. And building out the right composition is going to be something that's developed over time as it exists. The hero pool, or the warrior pool as they're called in this game, is quite small, and that's something I'm sure they'll expand on. They're eventually, actually in the Dev AMA, which is our next section, they did mention that eventually they'll have a timeline public where they're letting people know when to expect another hero or warrior coming to the game. Yeah, though it actually feels really good though. The amount of variety that's already in the games feel fresh.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different strategies because there's multiple ways that you can win around. You can win through 3 different ways: actually scoring the ball like with the relic across the map in your opponent's goal, or when the time limit runs out, having the relic on your opponent's side of the field is kind of like a sudden death victory moment there. Or you can actually just go for like a team fighting composition, and if you get a late game team wipe when the respawn timers are longer, you can win just by making sure all 4 of your opponents are dead. So the different win conditions promotes potentially different play styles as well. You're already seeing, sometimes there's campier play styles where you're going for just stalling out, and then planning on getting the ball across the line at the last second. Yep. There's ball running strats, and then there's, the pure, we're going to wipe you and we're going to farm you and get as much gold as possible. So it's cool.
And that, honestly, 4-minute round sounds super short, but the game is so fast paced and there's so much happening that the 4 minutes doesn't feel like 4 minutes. It feels like a long time because you're working so hard, but at the same time, it's like, oh God, it's over. It's got this beautiful balance. It feels like the absolute perfect amount for a round. And then it's a best of 5 to win an actual match against your opponent. You have to win 3 rounds total. But there's a lot of really interesting things, and this is something that I talk about a lot in esports, where I find the best esports do well and other esports kind of lack. And that's basically the economy and the management of resources. And Breakaway has multiple resources and economical decisions you have to make in your strategy. So this game does have items. And then as we have on the screen here, we'll just talk about this first. There's the relics. Relics are basically something you choose before you start the round, before you start the match. And then you are committed to your relic decision for the entirety of the match. These relics only interact with these relics are just basically about the relic, the ball. It's called the relic in this game. And you can, if you're planning on being more the ball runner, you go for a relic that gives you less damage taken while holding the ball. Or if you're playing Black Knight and you think you're going to be trying to defend the ball and control the ball as much as possible, you can actually set it up so that you get more gold every time you knock the ball out of the enemy's hands. And all of these decisions that you make before, that's one form of like a meta like decision making before you get in. But then there's the economy of gold / items and choosing how you want to prioritize that. And then last but not least, there's the economy of buildables. Every character in the game has a buildable, a structure they can put down that will actually, if not destroyed, will stay from one round to the next. Yeah. And if you're going into round 5, there can be a lot of structures on the map.
Yeah, there's always something to be doing. Yeah. There's PvE options with destroying or placing buildables. There's also the buffs. There's 2 crystals on each map, on each of the sides, where you can go and, PvE against those. And then there's the constant team fighting. You have to make sure, you're destroying buildables, because if you get to round 3 and there's, 3 rounds of buildables up, you're not getting through that massive wall, especially if, you have the Kyra turrets up or, the Victor AoE explosion. You have a lot of, there's always something to be doing. There's almost very little downtime, at least in the current meta. There's always something to be worked toward, which is very appealing about it. There's no lane phase like in other games. There's no building.
There's no minions.
Like
there's no farm. The farm is purely based around PvP, and you can see the shop here. We'll just run over some of the options you can make here. And we were talking a bit about the character selection, how you could play, one of those melee bruisers. Well, you could actually build yourself to be a little bit more tanky if you wanted to approach it that way. Go for more armor, go for more health, and build that way. Then there's the buildables. Every single character in the game has a different structure they can place in the map, except Argus, because he drops the log destroys structures. But again,
plus the siege engine, Jake. The siege engine.
Hey man, I'm still learning.
Gosh, okay, I had to look at my cheat sheet.
Good. You had a cheat sheet.
Yeah, I did look at my cheat sheet, so it's okay.
But I mean, you have the options to go for things like, I want less respawn time. I want to do additional damage to buildings, so I can really just stop Alona from having all these healing pylons on the map. I want to tear those down. Or you can get the additional gold so that you can farm it more quickly and try to ramp up. But then you're suffering in the earlier rounds as a result.
Yeah. And all the characters get access to the same items. There's no like support only items or AP versus AD only items. Everyone gets access to the same items, so you'll see consistently different builds. Everyone will have different play styles, and you'll see people have success. At the top players, they'll all have different build orders and stuff. Sometimes you see a lot of Black Knights running cooldown reduction. Sometimes they just go pure damage. There's a lot of you can cater to your own play styles, and you can see very different strategies build up between teams because of it.
It's really cool, and this is one of my I looked at games like Dota and League, and I never got involved in them and that was largely due to the massive knowledge bank that you need to acquire in order to actually understand the game. And yes, Breakaway over time will have more and more characters, but this basically the system where you upgrade your items to be heroic or epic, and that whole system of just you don't need recipes. You don't need to buy these 4 different pieces to build into the dragon amulet or whatever. You just upgrade one resource, and you strategically are choosing how you want to build that throughout the game. And I think it's a great solution to the, should it be a talent system, which games like Battle Right have done, and then we have that in Heroes of the Storm, or should we stick to an item system with farm? And I think this works really well.
Yeah. In its current state, I have no issues with it. As more heroes get introduced and stuff, and the when you have more heroes, more skills, it becomes harder to balance stuff like this. So we'll have to see if that needs a change. But as of right now, I have no issues with the item shop. There's a lot of different things you can do. I don't feel like any of the items have felt completely useless. Even the Thorns one, which I'm ashamed I'm having to look at my doc, because this is one of the ones I remember. It's Hammer of Vulcan. Where you attack a building and it reflects damage at you. That actually kind of hits pretty hard. I haven't taken it too often, but it didn't. Whenever seeing it in action, it didn't feel as worthless as I thought it would be. So every item seems to have a place and some usability at the moment, which is cool.
That's really cool. Okay, we can just hit play in the video and talk about the next thing that we showcase here, and this is me playing Corrin for the first time, so don't expect this to be a good representation of high-level play by any means.
In case anyone doesn't know, Jake's a former BlizzCon champion. He's been competing at the top level of pro gaming for the last 4 to 5 years. Yep. He's got 3,000 APM, so be ready to be amazed by this Corrin gameplay.
But this is one thing I love. As you're waiting for the gates to open, you can jump and then you can fast fall. That's Corrin. And then she slides when you're on a slope. So there's a few different maps, and all maps have slopes built into them, so that strategically you have movement options. You could pass them all to someone on the high ground, who can then utilize the slope to gain speed with the ball, jump to carry that momentum, and proceed forward. Also, the fact that it's all skill shots, even your left click is a skill shot, right? That's just your auto attack, essentially.
Yeah.
You jump in the air, you hit shift, you can fall more quickly to dodge projectiles. I mean, it gives you a lot of control of your character, especially with the sliding built into this. But you'll see here as the start of this game, we're waiting for the gates to open, and I'll go on my slip and slide party as I belly flop a lot. Woo, woo! And immediately you're at the gates. And that's just one way to get out there more quickly, but you can see the staircases here. You can also slide on those. And there's the first buildable. You can see that turret on the top of the hill. And that's trying to protect. You see that big gem shard on the right there? That is one of the power-ups Zoya was mentioning. It gives your team plus damage for the entirety of the round, and it goes to the team that gets the last hit. so they can be sniped, control over those strategically. Do you want to control the ball or do you want to control the gems? I think it actually is a pretty compelling way to mix things up.
Yeah, there's so much possibility right now with how you want to play your buildables and stuff. The turret is pretty nuts, and if that's why one of the biggest feedback I give to new players is go kill buildables. If you have nothing to do, if there's nothing you can force, go kill buildables. And sometimes killing buildables takes priority over a lot of things. If you get into your opponent's base and they have 3 of the Kyra turrets up, and you've got 4 Thorgrim walls, and you got Jara traps everywhere, you can't get through. You have to be constantly making sure you're clearing those things up. They're nuts, man.
Watch as they pass the ball to the enemy team. What a guy! What a guy!
Dude, you're getting farmed right now. This is
nope,
great.
nope. I scoop away.
The legend. Yeah, man.
But you can go ahead.
Whenever you actually see, the name of the game is there for a reason. Breakaway. When you see an actual sick breakaway happens, you can clear some distance really far, really fast, and it's super exciting. And that's one of the things that's most appealing to me, as while there's so much constantly going on, so much action, there could be like a 20-second stalemate around your opponent's goal where no one's getting in, and then somehow out of nowhere one of them grabs the ball and is suddenly halfway across the map. Not that far, but you know what I mean. Like they're suddenly zipping out of there down the ramps. They're throwing the ball. They're using their ability to catch it. There is some pretty flashy plays just with like the simple mobility options that everyone has access to.
And that's what's going to create a lot of like really hype moments. Like not even just that, but being able to set up a play where you're utilizing your cooldowns properly, because there's characters like Alona, she has a blink. And the fact that you also have a 20-second cooldown when you're holding the ball where you can dash. So you think about the options that exist there between being able to jump and then slide. She can throw the ball, blink, catch it, and then grab it and dash, mixing all those options in. And then passing is brought into the mix, coordinating and throwing some big passes. I don't know what's happening. The round's over. Okay.
Yeah, you guys wiped them.
Yeah.
You guys killed all 4 bad guys.
Bodied. I stopped watching, so I don't know. I just looked back. But it was, there's a lot of cool different things that can happen. But as you saw there, the 4-man wipe, you do respawn. So if one person had respawned a second earlier, that would have been the end of the round. Oh, another thing, this game is made by Amazon. Amazon owns Twitch. The game is fully integrated with Twitch to the extent that you use your Twitch account when you play. That's why it says Solid Jake GG. Usually it's just Solid Jake, but my Twitch is Solid Jake GG. And if I was to be streaming, it would show you however many viewers we have right now in the game. And that kind of interaction is super cool. We'll touch on it a little bit more because I have an article from TwitchCon last year where they go a little bit more in depth as to what their plans are. But I can keep the video rolling, I suppose.
No one wants to watch that. Come on. I'm just kidding. Let it roll. Well, yeah, the Twitch integration is finally, right? Finally. Yeah. I'm so happy. It's so important for not just like growing the esports and like getting more fans in, but it's so good for the creators themselves. It's like anytime I've been in a game and I see there's a stream, 95% of the time I load it up because I want to hear if they smack talk me or not. And then I'm starting to become fans of some of these streams I'm going against. You turn into these streams, you watch them for a few minutes, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of funny. Maybe I'll follow. It helps build the content creators as well as, brings in new fans and, more players and whatnot. So it's really cool, man.
It is really cool. I'm laughing at chat talking about a Whole Foods map coming to the game. I would be so hypa because Amazon bought Whole Foods. You can also see the fact that I have my structure in the back there, whatever that tree is called. There's 2 of them because they didn't destroy the one from the first round. And that is a slow. So, those are strategically planned to try to make it a little bit harder for them to push through that last choke towards our core And yeah, it's just, if you don't clear them up, it can become problematic. Like whenever I see Alona putting her item down, I make sure to focus that thing down if I'm playing anyone that has any kind of DPS, because it does add up. Those turrets are bodying me right now, and it adds a really nice thing. So what else did we not cover? We talked about the power-ups. The power-ups do change depending on the round. You can get, there's plus damage per round.
No, it's not round. It's not round. It's map.
I thought when you get the buff, you only hold it for that round, I thought.
Yeah, but
the map and the buffs change based on the map. Correct. Sorry, I misworded that. So the different buffs that exist, there's plus gold, plus health, and plus damage, as it stands.
And, armor, I believe, is the fourth one.
Armor. Okay.
Or shield or something like that.
Armor is
the map we're watching is, I believe, armor or damage and health.
I think you're correct.
Yeah. This is damage and health map.
And you saw her actually fly off the map. That's another thing. There are edges. You can fall off. You can die.
Throw people off. Knock people off.
Yep.
You can abuse the edge. On this map, never go near a Thorgrim on the edge, or you're asking to die.
Bat you away. It's gonna feel bad. And if the ball falls off, it's a way to kind of stall time. It will jump back up on the map where it fell off. But if you're just trying to buy your team some time, it is a little thing that I have seen done. Which is pretty interesting. We're just trying to make that push. We're trying to score. Again, like Zoya said, there's 3 ways to score. We already saw the kill the whole enemy team at once. There's obviously the goal up there, which we're trying to get to. And there you go. And last but not least, if the time runs out, it's about having the relic on the right side of the map.
And there's easy passing to teammates. You hit E to auto pass to any teammates that are in range. There's other old mechanics that add more dynamics to the game. When you get a kill or you die, their gold shards drop. I don't know exactly how the big gold shards drop. I don't know if it's just if you're holding a lot of gold or if you're on like a kill streak or something. But when something happens, maybe someone in chat can clarify. There's extra gold bounties that will occur, which is there's more strategy you can use around that as well, which is cool. But I think Gak just covers the basics of the game.
Yeah. And naturally, this is something that's going to expand, right? There's a lot of different characters that can mix things up. But as a core part of the game, the 4-minute rounds, the 3 ways to win, it is fast. It's fun. You can see the gold shards that you can pick up. That is something that you could, if you wanted to try to farm someone up, you could try to give them to them.
Above all else, it's easy but it's simple enough to watch where I don't have to know what these characters are doing to understand the general idea of the game. If I'm happen to be just tuning into Twitch, Summit's not on, but I'm on the front page and I see a breakaway thing, you very quickly realize that, they're trying to get this ball across the map while they're killing each other, right? Like there's no, there's no advanced entry level. It's if you're just a basic viewer, if you're wanting to get your mom to watch or something, she could tune in and at least look at this and go, okay, they're getting the ball across the field. That's being easy to watch is another huge selling point.
Hey, question. I actually just watched myself do something. When you put a structure down, if it gets hit right away, does it just get destroyed?
Yeah.
Aha! I didn't see. I'm learning right now.
One of the items has a master talent. It's the Hammer of Vulcan. That it doesn't do that when you put it down instantly. It won't get one shot. But yeah, got to be mindful of that.
Gotcha.
I think we're good to move on to the Twitch stuff. If you wanted to talk about that,
let's pull that up because. This is an article that I didn't, even after deciding I wanted to do the show, I actually saw this. I think it was last night. And again, they were showing stuff off at TwitchCon last year, TwitchCon 2016. They were showing content off for Breakaway. I don't remember what was happening during TwitchCon. I got married last fall, so I think I was just too busy and I probably missed all this news. That's going to be my excuse at least. But we can look at this article here. Stream Plus, MetaStream, Broadcaster Spotlight, and Broadcaster Match Builder. And basically, since the entire game is built around Twitch, they're going to be able to do a lot of different things. So, for example, if a viewer was to visit Stream Plus by going to twitch.tv/play breakaway/stream plus, which is the URL you could go to right now if you wish, you will earn loyalty points while watching a stream and being in that channel. And those loyalty points could be used for numerous things. They're saying eventually there will be unique breakaway character skins that you can unlock for your account. So skins, cosmetic content that's in the client, earned by watching streams. That's really cool. And then you can be able to vote and wager on matches. Now, from an esports perspective, that's fantastic. This could go other ways as well. They could, cosmetics is and voting is honestly the most magical thing in the world. Of course, some people might try to do other things depending on how flexible they make this tool. But, dude, to be able to run an event, have our viewers get rewarded just by watching, and then get free content is the most amazing thing. Like, that's the dream.
It's like a constant way of Breakaway and Amazon promoting grassroots tournaments, up and coming streamers without doing a thing. They don't have to do anything.
Well, they're giving away technically
they
free
enable
content,
the system. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, they're enabling the system, but there's no active work being they don't have to monitor and enable, and they don't have you don't have to email them hey, I'm going to be doing this event. Viewers are already enticed to watch anything on Breakaway, and it just promotes streamers and promotes tournaments. It effortlessly almost. Why hasn't everyone else been doing this? It's so great. We're finally getting these kind of things. Ugh. I'm so happy.
Sorry, Misty JM, you were getting banned. Moobot is an angry overlord. Down to the other meta stream. We talked about the currencies you get. Then you're talking about, this is one of the things that makes me so happy. Broadcasters can create custom HTML5 pages to control the information shown in the game. So this is stats, everything from damage done, the number of times that the relics can drop, even the mini map and relic control. They're saying that tournaments can build out their own broadcast stuff. They say HTML5 pages, but realistically, that could mean broadcast assets. I could make a graphic that has stats that automatically update, and that is so insane. It's truly everything I've hoped for in an esport, to have that kind of tool, broadcaster spotlights, and then match builders. I can't confirm that this is true, but with the integration, it's possible that eventually, say I'm playing viewer games. I'm not doing a tournament. I'm just playing with my stream, playing viewer games. We could do the viewer game selection from in the client, right? Because it knows what viewers are watching on Twitch. Or, again, I don't know for sure if that's true, but this is theorizing with this system. On top of that, what if I wanted to let the stream vote for my next hero and give them 4 options? Could the game automatically choose that next hero? Maybe. But those are some of the things that I'm like, this could be amazing for every kind of element, every kind of implementation.
Yeah, it's, again, it feels like when most game companies and games come out, it's putting, making sure they make money first, then the players second, and then community third. But it seems like the players and the community are all priority number 1 right now. We're in alpha, and there's already so much emphasis on the streaming aspect and the promoting the viewers and giving people the tools they need eventually to build something that's sustainable for themselves, right? They don't have to be contracted to, DreamHack, or ESL or something. You can, with the tools you have, it is very possible for grassroots, streams and stuff to make something happen.
And it's so cool. With Arcane 8 being my baby, and then knowing that these tools will exist, that is beyond exciting. Oh, and look at these, the little emotes at the end. I can put the SpongeBob face up. That's also really fun. Shout outs to my boys, Mewy and Flipped Up and Friable. Carried me.
Flipped Up the God. But yeah, these are things you expect post-launch with most titles now, and they're we're already getting the taste of it in the beginning steps in the first week of public alpha. It's just good things for the future.
Yeah,
potentially.
I guess alpha's a good thing to talk about here while we're still in the 101 segment. because the game went into its first alpha weekend last week, right? There were alpha weekends earlier. That was the first public alpha. So there were very closed alphas like over the last year, far and few, right?
I don't know how I can say.
Okay.
But there's been a few, and they've been going on for a while.
Okay. But last week was the first time I got to play. And then moving forward, those alpha weekends are going to be Thursday nights from 8 p.m. Eastern, so 5 p.m. Pacific, until Monday, until 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern, I think is what it is, for all weekends until, I would imagine, beta.
And let me make this very clear. This isn't like an early access game. This isn't like, some like we're going to be alpha for a week, then we're going to be beta, and then we're going to be launched, right? This is an alpha. This is an actual alpha where, their main focus is still server issues over balance, making sure it's ready for a wider player base and stuff. There's still those alpha bugs, right? It's not like it's missing content. It's still, very bare bones, and it's still, there's still kinks to be worked out. So don't jump into this and immediately expect, what's going on? Sometimes I have bots in my games. This is a true alpha. Don't look at Player Unknown Battlegrounds or all these early access games and compare it to that. This is an alpha, not an early access, not a beta. It is an alpha. Make sure you go into it with an alpha mindset. Sometimes there's going to be DCs. Sometimes there's going to be, the interface bugs out. Sometimes the item shop bugs out. That's the point of the alpha, right? So make sure you just go into this with the right mindset.
And it's so much an alpha to the point where you could look at the heroes or the warriors. We're going to get that in my head. The warriors that you see on the page, you'll notice that not all of them are listed here. They're still actually working on reskinning some of them.
Three of them are getting reskins today.
Yep. Victor, Black Knight, and Rollins. Rollins are getting their reskins. They're going to be the perfect tonight? Those are going live?
I believe so. Which is the perfect segue to the AMA, because they mentioned that in the AMA. That I don't remember actually where in the AMA that was, but they mentioned that the Black Knight, Victor, and Rollins reskins were coming. I don't know. I guess there's alpha footage, so I guess you can actually see the old heroes. But recently, Kyra, she was formerly named Anne Bonny, had a completely different look. Argus was formerly named Spartacus. He's got a completely different look. They're still the same kits. They're changing it up. And they talk about that in the AMA, how they're wanting to, not necessarily pull from other universes, and which was the kind of the original feel, and now it's creating their own, which is, we're going to start getting, cool lore stories from these characters. It's going to start breathing some life into, the actual characters themselves, which already just looking at them, how can you not love half of them? So they're also.
Dude, Corrin is bae.
So Corrin's pretty bae. I don't know, man. My Victor is my life, though.
But he's going to look different. Are you still going to love him?
Yeah, I hope so. Well, they said, I think one of the devs said that the yellow hazmat suit skin stays, so as long as that's there, that's my favorite skin in the game.
Okay.
But there was a recent dev AMA, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. We can put it in the description down below, but we did want to talk about a few of the things. We're not going to go over all the points, but here you can see it on the screen again, where they talk about how right now the alpha phase is currently spent on, again, making the server stability the main focus right now. Later down the road, they do plan on releasing more heroes and more content. New maps, etc. But right now, for the main focus, it's probably going to be slight balance tweaks, as well as getting the art where they want it and getting the game up to a point where it can handle, hundreds and maybe even thousands more players. So that's one of the main points that I took away from this. Something that I actually really liked, which is never something I've seen a company say, which doesn't guarantee anything, but they talk about community suggested characters. And, they didn't say anything like, yes, submit your characters and, we're going to, guarantee blah, 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 right? But they said they're open to the idea of you submitting character ideas and, maybe they'll run with it or give them ideas and stuff. I've never heard a company ever publicly say, sure, there's a possibility of it, because most of the time, if companies see a good idea on like Reddit or something, they'll secretly be like, ooh, maybe I can sneak this into this character as a talent or something, right? But they publicly say, hey, it's a possibility. Send us ideas, because we want to make this your game as much as it is ours.
I want to
really
talk
cool.
a little bit about that idea, and while we're in there, talk about the way that the business model works for the game, because we didn't touch on that. So when you load in, like any other MOBA, you have various skins, and Zoe already mentioned his yellow hazmat suit with Victor is his favorite skin. But you also have weapons, and these weapons range in a variety of ways. Like, you think of Jara. Jara is a melee stealth assassin. She has claws. You can give her lobster claws as her weapon instead. That's an item you can get. And then you can give her electrified lobster claws or golden lobster claws. And there's all different weapons that these characters have. I don't, however, know if they have stated what the exact business model will be. As it stands, you play, you earn gold, you can buy characters with the gold, or whatever the currency is called. Again, still familiarizing myself with the terminology. But I assume it will be loot boxes, considering they have taunts, weapons, and skins for every character. Right. And, you look at a game like Dota. Dota has community-generated content, community-generated couriers, like Team Liquid has a courier. And the possibility of that kind of content existing in this game is also another question mark. Could that happen? That could be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm orgless now, but as someone who's worked with like orbs like Tempest Storm Denial, been a fan of like orbs like EG and Cloud9 and stuff, those are always things that I love to look forward to and hope we see more of. Unfortunately, most of the things I wanted to talk about in the AMA, we talked about throughout the show about how the character redesigns and stuff. Because as you watch us know, we go on tangents and we'll go off track and we'll like overlap into other topics pretty often. But we've talked about a lot of the stuff that I wanted to bring up from the AMA already. But we're going to leave the AMA in the comments or in the description of the YouTube video. There's a lot. There's not all this we need to be brought up on stream.
Right.
It's a good little thing. Again, this just shows you very early on that the devs are like, there's a public Discord that the devs and people have been posting in chat and stuff, that the devs are all in. They talk to the player base, they're doing these public AMAs, they're not behind closed door, just keeping like infinite, well, I mean, they keep secrets, right? But, they're being very public and very active in the community. And
look at
you are
kill
awful
this
at this
Black
game. You are so bad.
This was like my second game. I've never played a game like this.
This guy is just trolling you right now. Oh. You've held your ult for like 30 seconds too.
I don't want to use it.
Jake's second game. I'm glad you're brave enough to use this footage.
Hey, man.
I love it.
YOLO. Got to learn somewhere. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, I think we're good to move into wants and concerns. If there's nothing else you want to talk about of our previous subjects.
I kind of just hit one, when it comes to a want, and that's community generated content. And the fact that, in the AMA, they mentioned the possibility of potentially using like a skin or a character or a design from someone else. I want that. That's a big want for me. My biggest wants are probably, is there going to be community generated things? And is there going to be eventually, are they open to the idea of doing esports type content? Because you look at, a game like Dota, and they have the banners and stuff that are built into the game. And as I mentioned, like there's like a Team Liquid courier I know of. I don't know a ton about exactly the extent of how much there is, but that kind of content, it lets you show pride for esports, which is very, very valuable as far as I'm concerned. And I love it. And so that's kind of one of my big wants. What are your big wants?
There's a lot of them. Definitely want to second what you just said. Getting community and esports content in the game is huge. This is more of a concern, partially a want. Talking about ranked play. And this happens in every game that has a competitive esports, where the competitive scene overall, it's one of their main things they're barking for constantly. Give us ranked mode, give us ranked mode, give us ranked mode. And my main message is release the rank mode when you believe it is ready. Don't feel pressured by the pros. Don't feel pressured by the community, because a bad rank mode can cripple a game faster than anything. And if you launch with a bad rank mode and then a year down you realize it's not that great and you have to rework, if you don't do an MMR wipe with it, it can lead to bad things. And at that point, doing an MMR wipe it can lead to problems. So my main thing is rank mode is awesome. I'm esports. I'm competitive. I want it bad. Just please release it when it's ready. Don't, the loudest part of the community is always not going to know half of what they're saying. You release it when you are confident that rank mode is going to be a success and good for the game, even if that means waiting until release. Which it hurts to say, we want it by beta, hopefully, but release it when it's ready. That's the most important thing of rank mode for me.
And it's everything from the ladder to the way you climb, your ranking system. I agree. It needs to be well thought out, and it needs to be meaningful. My other concern, and again, this is something they very well could have already addressed that. You see there's 2 Black Knights on this team right now. I think that's kind of weird. Now the warrior pool is very small as it stands. It's a very young game. We just saw the other win condition being across the map, and the double Black Knight got the W there. But I think that was the guy that was just dancing around me all game. Feels bad.
Probably. Yeah, it's again alpha, so limited hero pool. Probably for the best right now, because there's really not very many options. But hopefully, by the time launch happens, we have double the hero pool or getting close to that. And then, yes, I agree completely. Having, multiple of the same hero leads to, potentially annoying and toxic comps. And it's really hard to balance around that, too. Because if you're having to balance Alona around her being broken in 2 healers, then you're just nerfing her in, the solo healer situation, which, is what the ideal play would be with just having one Alona. So yeah, I second that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's exciting though, because like Smite, people like to compare this game to Smite because gameplay wise it's very similar to what Smite is.
It's the closest thing you can compare to.
Yeah, being that like over the shoulder, everything's a skill shot type of MOBA that Smite is. Smite's a MOBA with minions and 3 lanes and creep and the mercenary camps or the jungle. But this is, bringing it down into the war sport that they call it. But Smite has, I think, 88 characters or something insane. So who knows? Like, if you had to give an opinion onto number of characters, would you say that it's better to not have too many, or would you say this could be just like a MOBA where you could have 120 characters 8 years down the road and it wouldn't be an issue?
I think that's important for like the longevity of the game.
Okay.
The more heroes, even if that means some heroes go out of the meta, that's what keeps it not being stale. Is if new heroes get adjusted, it constantly swaps the meta. It constantly keeps people playing. New hero. People that aren't as hardcore. Oh, they just released a new warrior, so let me log in and play. So I hope that they don't have like a goal of like we want 20 characters and then we're going to stop. I hope that they keep building and building. It doesn't need to be as crazy as Smite. They don't have to commit to like a new hero every 3 weeks like Heroes does.
Right.
But definitely don't think there should be a cap. Maybe like a soft cap where they can like start focusing on other things.
I'm in the same boat. I think the more the merrier. This kind of game, they've already shown like all of these characters are so vastly distinct. Chat's already giving a few suggestions of things they'd like to see: an anti-healer, a lifesteal character like built in, and there's a lot of really good options to be like that. The fact that there is no PvE and it's pure PvP does change things up, but maybe there's I hate to say it, but eventually they could have a builder hero. Like, I know you don't want to deal with a Torbjorn, but like that.
Stop. You're off the show already. Like, get out, dude. No Torbjorns, no Heimerdingers. Get them out, man. Get them out. Oh, man. But, yeah. I mean, there is PvE in the game. It's not just pure PvP. You said pure PvP, and there's like you have to kill the buildables and stuff.
Oh, that's true. So there is PvP items.
That's a pretty big aspect.
Yeah, that's true. But there's no like minions and farm.
Right. There's no extent. You don't farm creep. Right. Yeah. You don't go do the jungle and so, there's kind of a jungle with the crystals, but they're a little bit different.
Last hit steal and stuff is still super impactful, and that's It's really like you guys don't understand. Like without playing, it's hard to fully appreciate what that struggle can be in the early game decision making of like, do we go straight for the ball to try to get control? Do we try to go straight for a kill, try to just gut their healer? Do we put our focus on 1 crystal or 2 crystals, set someone up to try to last hit? Like, your actual approach to that very first, 30 seconds of the game can make or break a round for you, like hands down, because the buff lasts the whole round. And if you get both,
even those buffs, like the 750 gold can snowball you. If you win that twice in a row and then you won both those rounds, round 3 is like, it's pretty hard for you to lose that. So, the buffs are definitely important. One of my big things, and I mentioned it in the little YouTube video, is we talked about it earlier, is technical skill. I feel that if we don't, right now there are a limited amount of tech skills. Again, it's still very early on, still very thin. But this game, there's a potential that it can become very campy and stalling. Like when people, if there is a skill ceiling without like superior tech skills, it can just become a point where if you're good enough to always land those auto attacks on the ball carrier, you'll get in a situation where no one is moving the ball. So more options for players to push themselves further. Again, when we already have some of those with the Kyra jump combo, you have a lot of mobility options that can like really set you apart from like newer players, and I hope that is constantly thought of in development, is allowing it to be like, this guy is an actual god because of what he just did. That's very enticing.
And just imagine certain compositions and certain synergies that exist between characters where their mobility options link up really well. Again, like you said, fancy plays where moving the relic quickly across the field are what I mean. That's a really interesting thing to think about an esports team. This esports team is good about just defense. This esports team is good about offense.
Yeah,
that's not a common thing you say about an esport. It's usually more about other objectives or other things. But since this is a war sport, as they're calling it, some teams will excel at moving the ball quickly. Other teams will excel at strategically setting up to counterattack, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about like you need like 500 APM to pull off these like crazy techs. No. The techs that they already have in the game. Kyra's tech is someone's going to coin a term for it eventually, but Kyra's tech is the perfect example. It's not something you see like. It's not something that's obvious to make, but it's flashy and it's a little bit difficult to pull off. You can't pull off in every situation. As long as we we get more and more of those for every character, like not even every character, but we start seeing more options like that. That pushes the skill ceiling higher and makes it just so much flashier. So I love that. The devs already mentioned that they do that in the Discord. They responded to the video saying that was intentional. They did not. That wasn't an accidental bug or anything, and they're going to keep, aiming to hopefully get more of those in. So that's a good thing to me, and I just want to see more of it. That's a want, not a concern.
No,
definitely want more of it.
That's really cool. One thing I don't remember if we mentioned or not is the fact that we did mention earlier in the show the fact that there's already a show match happening. So
yeah, Monday.
It's just a few days away. It's going to be Rogue versus Echo Fox, and I don't know if that means they're like officially picked up squads or if it's like something they've signed on for the show match. I'm not certain because I don't know what the full state of the competitive scene is already, considering
I doubt it's like official squads.
Yeah. Because like even like early Heroes, again, that's where we come from. They had this BlizzCon show match where a bunch of players that played at the BlizzCon show match for the first Heroes were never like relevant in the scene. They never actually continued playing.
I mean, they might be like, yeah, we'll let you rock the brand potentially. I doubt it though. I mean, it's been like a handful of private NDA tests and then one public test. I don't think either Rogue or Echo Fox is like $3,000 a month, go. Like it's way too small of a player base, way too early on. But maybe I don't think so though.
We can take a look at their trailer they made for that. It's being played on a warship. And
God,
yeah, I love
that. That's so cool. I geeked out to Jake on Skype for like an hour about it. Like the idea of getting to cast a tournament like like in 20 years, like we're flying on like the NASA space station or something, casting like the Breakaway for tournament or something. Like there's a tournament on a warship. Hello, that's so cool.
I love the sliding that they mixed into this as often as they could.
This is a very well produced commercial for
a show match.
A show match in an alpha that doesn't have that big of a community yet, man.
Because it hasn't been public.
What a cool video, man. That is so hype. The slide, everything about it was really well done.
The sliding it kills me. I love it. It makes me so happy. And Red Bull's involved in this. Echo Fox and Rogue involved in this. Bull, man. It's going to be really, really fun. And Monday, June 26th, 12 to 3 p.m. PST on twitch.tv/Red Bull Esports. So if you're looking to get your hands in a little bit more into what the competitive scene could look like for this game, that is the option for you.
And take a look.
I mean, we're going to be streaming this weekend too. That's another thing to mention.
Yeah,
because the servers go live like in an hour.
An hour 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Pretty hype. Any other ones and concerns you got, Jake? Because I would love to be able to make this segment so much longer, but the devs have already said that they're working on or planning most of my wants or concerns. And it's too early to have super advanced concerns, right? Because again, it's a bare bones alpha. But
I'll say this to everyone:
so much info out there already. That's so great.
No matter what they decide to do, if they decide to, let's just assume they're going all in for esports, because they've right on the main website. What is the actual wording? Built for broadcast and spectate. Commentate matches in spectator mode. Right in their main page, this game is talking about viewership, viewing, and esports essentially. And that's really rare for games to be in an alpha and be talking about that. I feel that's really rare. So we don't know what their plans are. We don't know if they're going to be doing an LCS style league. We don't know if they're going to be trying to do something like the Overwatch World Cup, which is crazy, or if they're going to be just supporting grassroots and working alongside MLG, DreamHack, ESL, those kind of businesses to produce events. No matter what they do, if they do a big league format, I want them to make sure that they always think about grassroots as well, because there's a lot of companies, I've worked with Nintendo in the past, and Nintendo has made some really interesting decisions over the year. They just recently launched Nintendo Versus, and they intentionally left Smash Brothers out of it. And this is something a lot of people were really upset about, but they understood that grassroots Smash is probably best off without them because it's already doing so well. It's thriving, it's stable, everyone's happy. Why would they hop in and ruin that, right? And I think there's a lot to say about that. I think grassroots is more people benefit from it in the long term because it creates a lot of jobs. And then when you have a lot of different parties invested in this, I think it's just creates a really good economy for everyone involved.
Yeah. If we relate it to Heroes of the Storm, which, again, very happy with the HGC League, no issues there. But the HGC League essentially has eliminated the potential of any grassroots events for the most part. There's one bye weekend where we're getting to run Bloodlust 2.
But it's so hard for us to create content for that game.
But outside of that, we can't make more. That's literally the one weekend, and no one else can run a tournament that weekend. Well, they could, but Bloodlust has taken that spot. It's the biggest grassroots events of the year probably. There's no other options for anyone else. So while the HGC League has brought a lot of life and money into the league, a little more wiggle room is always nice.
Yeah, I guess that's one of my. I think that's my only other want though. When it comes to the weapons, skins, taunts section, I think that's perfect. Voice lines and stuff like that, they're nice to have. I don't use them in Heroes. I just spam them in the lobby between the game starts in Overwatch. I think this is great because it lets you customize your character. There's a lot of silly stuff which I think is really great.
And again, it's an alpha, so this could clearly be expanded on infinitely, right? So there's so much more potential with it, and it's great.
As a baseline, I can't complain about that.
I think a concern for me, or maybe I don't know if it's a concern, but it's more of this is not something that should be said, but it had to be said in the past. So whenever you guys Amazon plans on releasing custom games, expect everyone at least specifically us, and I'm sure everyone else, to start immediately show matches, streaming scrims, streaming tournaments.
No, I'm going to say right now, we will run tournaments the day custom games go live.
Yeah, unless Amazon says we're releasing custom games, but no one's allowed to run tournaments. We'll disable their account.
We'll honestly honor that, and then we'll run.
Yeah, we'll honestly honor that. But
in the background,
expect whenever custom games go live for us to be like a lot of people to be pushing for that, and hopefully we can avoid a situation where custom games come out, 30 tournaments show up, and then the game goes, oh, we don't want this, and then disables custom games a week later and keeps them down for 6 months. So I would like to
who would do that?
Hopefully avoid that situation if possible. That was a very specific situation to call out. I just we're already planning show matches and tournaments, so the moment those custom games hit, that is our plan, and I'm sure a lot of people will be streaming scrims and stuff as well. So I just wanted to get that out there, that little PSA. That hopefully we're not stepping on anyone's toes with our instant announcement.
That was years ago.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else. Again, as this goes on, again, we start getting more into the balancing and more introductions of heroes. As we start when those custom games come out and we start seeing the competitive scene foster, we'll be doing more meta-focused discussions, more patch breakdowns. Yep. Again, hopefully we'll be bringing in, the prominent figures of the community as well as, the top players and stuff to, talk about the game with us. We want this to mirror Town Hall Heroes. It is the sister show. And we're esports focused mindset. So that's going to be the shift and the plan going forward. So we might not have a show every week early on because there's not enough to talk about, until we start really grinding out tournaments and there's constant balance updates. The show is going to be a little different than the long-term goal, which will be mirroring the Town Hall Heroes.
Yeah, I mean, if we looked at the early days of Town Hall, we talked about what heroes we want to see because it's based on the Blizzard IP, and right. We're just going to take it slow. We're not going to commit to a weekly show until it's really warranted and things are moving. So just a few other tools that could be nice in the game is like right now there's practice versus AI when you click try, but a true try mode where you can just go around and just play around, turn cooldowns off and stuff on your character, tinker around with abilities and stuff without maybe with a target dummy, kind of like a target dummy test. That kind of sandbox would be really fun. And yeah, but I really can't think of any more Watson concerns. So if you had to pick one element of this game that got you interested the most, what is the number one contributing factor that pulled you in?
Coming from games like StarCraft and then becoming a big fan of Melee, there is when a game is close and tense, you get an adrenaline rush, and I've only ever felt it in the past from two games. StarCraft, when you're having those long matches and it's this crazy game and you're pushing your APM as high as you can, get that adrenaline flowing, and then those close matches in Melee where you're getting down to the last stock, you're making the comeback and stuff. This is a game that I get that same rush from, and it's very rarely gotten it from. When you're trying your hardest to get that ball in, or you're trying your hardest to stop the relic from going in, or you see that this is the last man standing and you only have 5 seconds to confirm this kill.
And 2 HP.
Yeah, 2 HP. You get a rush. It's when it comes down to those down to the wire moments, it feels good and it's very fun. That's my biggest thing about this game is it gives me that feeling that I love it from games, and it's very rare for me. But
that feeling exists as a spectator too, and it's very important to point that out, which is why I have so much confidence in this as an esport. I watch it, and I'm on the edge of my seat in all of those moments, and the fact that the rounds are 4 minutes long, it doesn't stop. It's nonstop action. It's beautiful, and for me, I mean, I already mentioned it earlier. my response to that question is just the movement options. You know, some of the different advanced techniques that exist, the basic movement options that you have. We only saw in that video the one map. There are different maps with like elevators, and those elevators you can then throw the relic onto the elevator to lift it up. Someone could be up there already waiting for it, controlling that kind of space. You know, the wider maps, new maps down the road could introduce other new things. I hope they don't do weird things like add like ice to the center, like a flat point. That could be kind of weird. And, you know, I want to have control of when I want to slide. It could be cool, but I want to have control. I don't want it to be like...
Don't get too crazy with your maps. But.
Okay, the other way you compare this game is Hutball. A lot of people look at it and they go, oh, Hutball from Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO, where they had a PvP mode called Hutball. And Hutball had all kinds of hazards, like flames and like acid and stuff. I don't want that. I think that would really take away from this game. And I guess that's a concern we can put it as. But
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that's I can bring up that's relevant, because again, it's still alpha, so I can't be like, I need like 13 more heroes. Like, clearly they're coming, right? I need, the interface is a little wonky here. I mean, clearly that's going to change.
The interface is honestly one of the things.
Well, that was just an example.
Yeah,
right?
But like just to mention that's one of the things where, kind of first impressions, I was like, this is really clean. Like, if I again pull up this Amazon article where they're bringing out new features. Like, I don't actually know if this is like built into the Observer client, because we don't have access to the Observer client. But seeing like this Rollins and this Black Knight with their damage and stuff, that's so nice. I love that.
Yeah.
The map is simple but very easy to understand, akin to what you'd see in sports. And
the more tools and stuff like that are accessible in games, the easier it is. Because Jake and I are in a very unique and fortunate situation where Jake is a god of production. He's an exceptional artist, with Photoshop skills, and he runs a home studio, one of the best homes, non-company at-home studios probably in America. He knows what he's doing. Not everyone else has that to them. So, the more features there are in game to allow just someone to be like, I'm going to cast some viewer games today and have some functionality that doesn't require Jake-esque skills, it promotes, more grassroots stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I just love new toys to play with. And it seems like this game with MetaStream and Stream Plus is going to have a lot of fun toys to use. At this point, the show is turning into just kind of we're really excited about this game show. And unfortunately for me, like my knowledge of actual in-game is still very limited. Like I was very busy last week, and that was the first weekend. This weekend I'm going a little bit harder, and I'm really pumped for it. So I guess we can plug the just signing up for the alpha, because it is alpha.
Yeah.
And you if you want to play, you can sign up. So let's it's playbreakaway.com, but I'm actually going to show one other thing that just makes me super happy. And just give me 2 seconds here, because we're going to get Streamception on. We're going to pull up twitch.tv/Arcane8, where we are broadcasting live from
Streamception
right now. And if you go to our page and you were to look just below the stream, well, what's that? Oh, sign up for the Breakaway Alpha. How convenient is that? And and it says purchases revenue will be shared with Arcane8. This is because they have the, like, if you buy games, it part of the proceeds go to Arcane8 kind of deal. But I've seen you can just click that and it brings you straight to the sign up. Enter email to become an insider, log into Twitch to redeem your access code. Very easy to sign up. But I've seen other titles like Spite, where streamers have like loot box revenue shared or stuff like that. And that would be really cool if they did something like that as well. I had never seen another game do that, but admittedly, I don't watch a ton of other game streams. Breakaway will be the only like new title that I'm watching. I don't watch Overwatch. I mean, I watch Heroes, and I'll get involved in Breakaway. But PUBG. I watch PUBG. PUBG's fun. Not gonna lie.
It's not an esport though. That was okay.
I know, but I still watch it.
Yeah, PUBG's fun. Yeah. I don't know. Or there's not much more we can say without repeating how excited we are for this game. Yeah. Again, Jake and I so over the last 2 to 3 years since we've been like working this closer together, we're constantly, as creators, as in our roles, we're always looking to expand our portfolio. We love Heroes, we're involved with that, but we've always been looking for other options, and very often than not, we do not pull the trigger. And
this was a snap. This was a snap. Pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger. We didn't wait. I mean, I've been in it. I don't know, again, the NDA stuff, but I've been hyped about it for a while. Me and my buddy K1 have been really going hard at this game, and the moment Jake touched it, he was in love, and here we are. So, yes, we're excited. Breakaway hype.
And as time goes on, we'll look to create other content. Like once we're a little bit more seasoned with the game, we'll make full introductions to other mechanics, give you guys a greater look at the various characters, all the elaborate different ways you can use the advanced movement options to travel with the ball. Because there's actually a beauty of having to learn the map to properly know what the optimal paths are. How do we set up a big play so that we can pass to someone on the high ground who can then move with the ball from the low ground? Well, sorry, why are you laughing?
We've tried to end the show 8 times, and then you just keep tangenting about how excited you.
Well,
we can't stop talking about Breakaway.
I can't.
We keep trying to push towards these exits, and we just immediately.
Well, I wanted to do the first show like about an hour long,
but
this is all we do. This is all we've been doing for the last week. Is just we're just talking about this game. We're streaming Heroes. We're streaming a Heroes tournament, and we're just talking about.
Yeah, during the downtime, we kept talking about Breakaway.
It's hard, man. It's hard to not be excited because it is sincerely that fun. But
again, we've 3 years. We've been looking for other opportunities, and there was no hesitation. If you are here as fans of Jake and Zoya from our previous works, or if you look at our resumes and say, okay, maybe I'll trust these guys, we pulled the trigger. That's got to mean something.
No.
We're very happy with this game. For how early it is. There's so much potential. It's through the roof, and it's not like we see the trailers and stuff, and we hear the Amazon name. Oh, it's Amazon, right? 6 months from now, the game's gonna be. We've played the game, we've experienced it. We know we're ready. We're in love.
It's kind of amazing at how it's all worked out. Make sure you tune into the show match. Sign up for the alpha. Show match is going to be on Monday. Twitch.tv/Red Bull Esports. Again, playbreakaway.com to sign up for the alpha. And, there's going to be some more stuff at TwitchCon and stuff. We'll be following all of that, making sure that we've got all the info on the show. Subscribe here on twitch.tv/Arcane8. You can follow at TH Breakaway. That's our Twitter account for this show, and you'll get all of the updates there. This will exist as a VOD immediately here on Twitch. It'll be on YouTube soon. And then we are actually going to have an MP3 version, and it might take us a few days to get that all uploaded so that it's connected to everything like iTunes and the Android, the Google Play Store, and all of that. It does take a bit of time, but this will exist in all forms. As mentioned, the VOD is always going to be the full experience, because honestly, since rounds are 4 minutes long, this game is designed to the point where we can do just full-on replay analysis of a round. Right? We can sit here, bring in a player that played in a tournament, and do a replay analysis live on the show with this kind of format. And that's something that we'll inject in later. So a lot of cool stuff.
That's a good one to bring up, by the way, replays. I don't know if replays have been mentioned, but having replays,
Well, even if we had to look at a tournament VOD like that, it's doable. But
in-game replays would be great, though.
In-game replays would be great. Agreed 100% there. But Zoya, shout-outs, man. Where can they find you?
We got to the shout-outs.
We did it.
Holy cow. We stopped talking about Breakaway. Shout-outs to, again, a lot of my focus is going to be working with Jake here on the Arcane 8 channel. We do the Heroes content. We do the Breakaway content. So, again, follow the TownHall Breakaway Twitter, TH Breakaway on Twitter. Follow the channel. Follow Jake's YouTube channel, because I'm going to be helping him out there as well. Follow my own Twitter, at TempoZoya. And I'll see you guys in, I don't know what it's called. It's not the Nexus, that's Heroes. I'll see you guys in the Warriors Fight Arena of Breakaway.
See you guys in the court?
See you guys on the court.
Yeah, it works.
Sure.
We're learning the terminology. Forgive. Mate, just follow Arcane 8. Arcane 8 on YouTube. Arcane 8 here on Twitch. My personal Twitch is SolidJakeGG, which is where I'll be streaming it a bit this weekend. I'll probably hop on a bit later tonight, not right away. Gonna eat some food and take care of actually I need to record some more stuff for some of those videos we're gonna be producing.
In the arena, that sounds great.
In the arena. So keep your eyes on the Arcanate YouTube as well for some more content coming in the next week, most likely. That's the goal at least. And episode 2 will be here before you know it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're very excited for Breakaway, and we'll see you next time.